Hello and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Catherine Haleko and I'm here with Terri Morrow. Say hi, Terri.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast we talk about parenting issues, but once a week Terri and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. So this week we have an episode of The West Wing and a movie challenge that features an actor from The West Wing.
Yes.
From that particular episode of The West Wing, not a full-time
Well,
person.
yes, it also has a full-time person in it.
Oh, that's true. It has both.
It's West Wing Palooza.
That's right. But first, we are continuing with The Good Place, watching new episodes as they air on Thursday nights, although it's not going to last much longer.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. It's like, well, I guess the last episode will be in February, but how can their season be over in February?
Like
more.
February 1.
More. February 1. We need more. That stinks.
So this week was called The Burrito, and it was both of the things that we kind of thought would happen, where it showed us what was happening to Michael back in the Bad Place headquarters, and also what was happening to the gang of 4 as they were approaching the judge, who was played by Maya Rudolph.
Yes.
From a challenge we had a few weeks ago. Because there's only so many actors in the world.
Apparently there was a great debate, I missed this online, about who they were going to guest cast as the judge. Apparently, like, both Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman were floated as possibilities, both of which would have been solid choices.
Yes.
Maya Rudolph was also very enjoyable. She has a certain way about her that worked well for this completely arbitrary and capricious power.
She was breezy, and at the same time, she was a judge. You know, she was doing her judging thing.
Right.
So,
but
yes, it was enjoyable.
Yeah, it was an interesting episode.
And each of the 4 had to face a test.
Yeah.
Maya Rudolph, the judge, devised a test for each of them to see if they really had learned and changed and grown enough to go to the bad place. I mean, the good place.
Yeah, the right place. Although 3 out of the 4 of them failed, they all showed great personal growth, which, in this particular system does not appear to count. But it was kind of nice seeing how they worked that out, that although Tahani couldn't stop herself from going in and hearing what her parents said, she rose above it and realized that it really didn't matter to her anymore. That's huge for her. And, whereas Jason couldn't resist the impulse to play the game, he did follow the instructions even though he didn't care for them. He did not throw a Molotov cocktail at anything. That's good for him. And Chidi did pick a hat, finally.
Right.
It took him
an hour and a half.
But he was decisive eventually. So it'll be interesting to see if that's what gets argued next week in their favor. I mean, I would think just the fact that they were able to turn a demon should buy them some credits. But
and they haven't made that argument yet.
No, they have not. So, I can see where this is a situation that doesn't necessarily ever occur in this place as it's been presented. People either go to internal torture or they go to the good place. There's no real place to be learning to be better in this system, except this thing that Michael did and then did 801 times or however many.
But he didn't do it to make them better. He did it to torture them.
But it was an unusual situation. And that's what has created this anomaly. So new rules going to have to be made, I think.
Right.
But,
and Mindy St. Clair is her own separate thing.
Yeah, she got her own rule.
So. She's not learning. She's just in the middle because she truly can't fit in either place.
Oh, she's learning some things about wind chimes, I think, but other than that, not so much. But so it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. But I thought it was kind of nice the way that was done, and that it wasn't easy. They didn't actually. They're going to need this last episode to. Where are they going to go with this, Catherine? Do you think? What do you see happening for next season?
I don't know. I really am curious because. Yeah, I mean, but they do this every week where I'm like, well, that's the end. Like, how do they keep going? And somehow,
yes. Well, maybe they have to invent another, since they've already had to come up with an in-between place for Mindy St. Clair. Maybe they need to come up with another place, a place where you can earn your way or to the good place. Mm-hmm. Since they have these 4 people who are sort of outside of their binary system at this point.
Right, and then Michael and Eleanor and Chidi can run it. And Tahani can, like, decorate it.
There you go.
And I don't know about Jason. He can just stand around and be amusing to everyone.
So on the other side of the portal, did you know that was Good Janet before the reveal?
No.
I did not get any hints of it at all. I've heard people say they did, and I was delighted when that happened, but I did not see it coming. She learned fast, man.
She did, because in the previous one, it was hilarious how, like, you know, tentative and nervous she was about pretending to be bad.
But I guess since she is not actually human, she's some sort of artificial intelligence. I guess she can upload that stuff and get good at it. That was very fun. I absolutely did not see that coming. And that whole part of the episode was wonderful for 2 things. One, Michael delivering the "ya basic" insult. It's devastating. You're devastated right now to Sean.
Right.
And then the internal torment of being in a small room with nothing but New Yorkers dropping down every so often that you know you're never going to read. I think many of us are in that kind of hell right now.
Many of us can relate. It's a secret commentary on peak TV.
Yes. That's true. That's true. And also on the New Yorker. But yeah, so that was fun. That was I was glad that part of it resolved as quickly and neatly as it did. And
I'll have to go back and watch and see if there's hints about Janet.
If you go back and watch it, if you'll see them. I don't know. She seemed very, very bad Janet-y.
Yes, she did.
She was high-fiving Sean.
She had some great lines as bad Janet.
Yeah.
So.
That's fun.
So
interesting. This show has so much on its mind, really, for a sitcom. It's amazing to me. The thoughts that are being discussed, the complicated moral and ethical implications of things, and you know, you feel like you learn something in addition to laughing. And it gives you things to think about. Plus which, Kierkegaard came up in our Jeopardy calendar this week, and I got it right because it was on my mind. I've heard of him, but also he's on The Good Place, mentioned on The Good Place every week. He was a hint that Michael was giving them.
That's right.
So it's good for that, you know, getting the names of philosophers topmost in my head. That in itself is a reward.
There you go. So we got one more week to see what sort of terrible cliffhanger they're going to leave us on and make us wait all summer, all spring and summer.
And a little bit of winter. Right. And probably part of fall. Come on. I hope that...
Maybe, do you think next season is more than 12 or 13 episodes?
I doubt it. You know, as a viewer, I wish for more. But on the other hand, the writers burn through so much plot. I mean, they got to go sleep for a few months to be able to come up with more ideas. You know, we all certainly know of series we love that have a certain number of episodes a season that are just duds. So, you know, I kind of don't mind having a shorter amount. It just is a very long time to wait for more. But I trust that their social media presence will continue going strong.
That's true.
Yeah. You know, something that I saw the other day, somebody mentioned that I had not even thought about is how good Mike Schur shows are at having a lovable dummy. And they were drawing a line between Jason and Andy on Parks and Rec. And you know what? There is a fair amount of similarity there.
Yes, there
Somebody
is.
who's just in so many ways just dumb as a rock, and yet they're lovable. and have a certain intelligence of some sort, not a typical one, but something keeps them going. And so that was interesting.
That's a great point.
I hadn't made that line before. I wish I could remember where I had read that, but good work, internet person who mentioned that.
Right. Way to go. We salute you.
I would like to see a social media meetup of some sort between Andy Dwyer and Jason Mendoza. I think they should go catch a football game or otherwise hang.
Yes, absolutely. They would enjoy that very much. Well, good. Well, we'll dream about that possibility while we move on to The West Wing. It was season 4, episode 12, Guns Not Butter, that we watched this past time. And this episode was funny. Like, there were a lot of funny moments and jokes and things that made me laugh out loud in this one. Yeah,
I hadn't really remembered it as being that way. And it was, again, a lot of these episodes that are not memorable, when I watch them again, I'm like, hey, you know what? This was pretty good. This is a good show.
Yeah.
We will not be saying that after next week's episode, but
not amusing, huh?
Well, no, it's definitely not amusing, and it's barely an episode of The West Wing, but we'll get to that later. Okay. But yeah, there was some good stuff in this, and I liked Donna as intrepid stalker, even though she in the end failed, but still. Although she did eventually get her phone in the hand of somebody who would take it to the congressperson, but too late.
Right. And I didn't really understand why it was so awful that she revealed the names.
Because it made it very easy for them to check and find out that it was a lie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. I didn't realize that right when she did it, but then when they said it later, I said, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, if she had just said, we got 2 more, never mind, then that would have been much harder to disprove.
I see. Okay. Got it. So yeah, we had Donna, running all over town trying to flush out this congresswoman who didn't want to be found.
Yeah.
We had CJ dealing with a goat.
And then Will dealing with a goat.
We had everyone continuing to not call him by his actual name.
Yes. Having
Will Bailey.
A character played by Josh Malina be the subject of many practical jokes was probably very, very enjoyable for the people who work with him.
Yes. And then CJ gives it away, basically. Oh, it's this new guy that Josh and Toby are trying to give a heart. Oh,
is that you? And we have Charlie ordering up memos from the Department of Defense. Sort of mortifyingly.
Right. But it was a very sweet scene when he confessed to the president what he had done and why he had done it.
Yes. There's probably nobody else who would appreciate that confession as much as Zoe's dad. But it wasn't really to impress Zoe so much as it was to impress her boyfriend and make him shut up.
Yes.
But was he dialed up to maximum obnoxiousness in this episode. Oh my goodness.
Jean-Paul.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him later, but this was a good episode for us to watch the movie with because wow, was he unpleasant in this.
He really was the worst.
Yes, I think Charlie would have been justified to punch him in the nose, but
although it doesn't, from what we know about Zoe, why is she falling for this?
Yeah, the only reasonable explanation is because she's mad at Charlie and maybe mad at her dad, and she found the one guy who would be most offensive to both of them at the same time.
To both of them.
Masterfully done, Zoe. You could not have done made a better selection.
Now you can stop.
Now send him home to wherever that is.
Send him back to France to his castle or whatever. No one wants to deal with him anymore.
Yuck. So bad.
Jean-Paul.
Yeah.
What else? Well, on the West Wing Weekly, we had a couple people talking about food insecurity and food stamps related to the Charlie plot line, which was interesting. And there was something else where they kind of disagreed with what
Oh, yes, about the should they have taken the deal from the guy who wanted the research on prayer.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? I completely agree with them.
Yeah,
it's a small amount of money. It's not tied to any particular faith. There's actual scientific people who want to look into it. What the heck? Take the deal, man. Why don't stand on your high horse? I mean, I understand that Toby has a high horse on that topic, but Bartlett shouldn't. Leo shouldn't.
Well, and the whole thing where they start with the guy saying, we want to pay people to pray. Yeah. Like, that was incendiary. Right. You know? Like, that's not going to get you
Is there money in that? Because you know what? I'll sign up.
Right. And that wasn't what it was at all.
No,
like,
it wasn't.
Yeah. So that whole thing didn't make sense.
Yeah. I think that didn't come off as the final deal did not come off as outrageous as it should have. And
right. If they wanted to make it be something where they were selling their principles, they needed to change the details of it in some way, because it wasn't.
And even that, if it's cheap enough, you know what? If it gets foreign aid to people who need foreign aid, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, way too pragmatic for the Bartlett White House, but yeah. So that's some enjoyable bits in it. They also on the podcast they also had somebody on talking about foreign aid. So they get interesting guests on there.
Yeah.
By the way, for folks who are on Twitter, Josh Malina was mentioning that he has a challenge to benefit this maison, who they had the president of it on there to talk on. And if you click through, I think it's on his Facebook page to find out about the challenge. If you donate, I believe it was $54, he will follow you on Twitter for a year and chuckle politely at all your bad jokes. So nice. I did that once. He's done that before, and I did it. I think it was a bargain. I don't think it was $54. I think it was less than that. But if you donated and showed some proof of that, so I think he still follows me. But then I felt
after a year he decided, you know what, I like this Terri Morrow. I'm staying.
I think he just doesn't feel like going through and rooting people out, so I shouldn't say anything. Never mind. No, he doesn't still. But, once I did that, I was all proud of myself, and then I thought, oh my gosh, I feel such pressure now. I have to be clever.
Come up with something that he's going to
I have to be worthy of this follower now, this celebrity follower. But it is, right. It's a good cause to donate to. And if it would tickle you to have Joshua Malina following you on Twitter and be able to show that to people, donate some money. Yeah. Help some people and get this relatively silly but still gratifying reward.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. So that's the West Wing.
That's the West Wing.
It's not butter for this week. And so let's move into the challenge because of the connection with both Allison Janney and the annoyingly obnoxious Jean-Paul.
Yes, this challenge is placed well between an episode in which Trent Ford plays Jean-Paul as a complete, just awful, miserable, annoying person. And in this movie, he plays a much more charming fellow. And also this movie co-stars Allison Janney, who in next week's episode of The West Wing is pretty much all there is. So we've placed this movie well. I've been meaning to challenge you to watch it for a while, so this is good timing. The movie is called How to Deal. It's from, let me look up the year of it. It's from 2003. It stars Mandy Moore and Allison Janney and Trent Ford, as I've just mentioned. And also Peter Gallagher is in it, Dylan Baker, and let's see, Alexandra Holden plays her friend. And it's, I always liked it. It was, I think, as I mentioned last week, it's one of those movies that I don't claim as specifically good, but that I can just watch over and over again. I just find them very enjoyable. In this case, the movie is based on 2 books by a young adult author, Sarah Dessen. And one of them is called That Summer, and the other one is called Someone Like You. And they've taken plot points from both of these books and kind of mashed them together in a movie that is, I think, shows that it's been strung together by plot points from 2 different books. I have no trouble believing that. It doesn't, it seems very episodic and it's hung together very loosely. And yet I love the performances. The characters are enjoyable. I forget every time when I watch it how much Allison Janney is in it. She plays Mandy Moore's mother, and really she has her own entire story arc, which is something that, as mothers of teenagers don't usually get in movies about teenagers. They are there as an impediment, and that is it. So she has her whole, she goes from obviously being unhappy over a divorce and very down on men to meeting this kind of charming guy and starting a relationship with him. Dealing with the fact that her daughter is going to leave the house and she doesn't want to leave in this house that she was married in by herself. And, Allison Janney doesn't need a lot to run with it, but she has a fair amount here, and I think she does very well. Mandy Moore is adorable, and you're seeing her now as an adult in This Is Us. Was it weird seeing her as, I think somebody said she was 19 in this. She's playing a 15-year-old, but she's a teenager herself.
Right. It is weird, And in This Is Us, the thing is that, she plays herself, in the present as being, like 60-something years old. And then in the past as being sort of in her 30s. And they have her playing her, when she's, the young mother, it's from when the kids were babies until they were 17, and she looks the same for that whole 7 years. That's right. That's kind of weird. I'm always like, she looks way too young, as to be the mother of like 3 high school seniors. But we try to, just move on from that. But it was weird to see her as a real teen in this case. I wasn't too fond of the hair and costuming that they had going on. It was a little distracting for me.
Yeah.
So it was a little too, it was trying too hard.
Yes, it was. I would agree with that.
Yes.
But
yeah, it's a very nice story. Also, I think, I couldn't quite buy the self-awareness that she had, of like, I don't want to be in love because I'll get hurt. I think, I don't know how many, 15, 16-year-olds can can draw that conclusion.
Well, it looks, I said 15 because that was the character in one of the books. Now I'm looking, it says in How to Deal she's supposed to be 17, but still.
Same.
It's sort of one of those things you have to let wash over you.
Yes. Yeah, I still enjoyed it.
Opining about love and stuff is a little much, but the sort of contrivance of her romance with this guy, he's definitely not a person. He's a plot point. And so therefore he doesn't really have to, nothing he does needs to be logical. He's just there to sort of comment on her story in one way or another.
Right.
Like, I still, after all the times I've watched it, don't quite get why he leaves her at the hospital. That seems to be, they say something, but it doesn't seem consistent with the way his character has been.
Right.
So, and I also, my sympathies to Peter Gallagher, who had to wear all sorts of unfortunate
facial hair
and
clothes.
Midlife crisis guy stuff.
Yes.
This is not one he puts high on his resume, I don't think.
No, probably not. Well, it was fun to watch, and I watched it on a long bus ride. It worked quite well for that scenario.
Yes. I recommend to our listeners, if you have an afternoon without much to do, and you can find this somewhere, it's a very enjoyable watch. And there's lots of people in it you will recognize. Mackenzie Aston plays her sister's fiance, and lots of people pop up that you say, I kind of know that person.
Right.
So, and Allison Janney is fairly lovely as the mom. So
yeah, can't go wrong with Allison Janney, really.
If you enjoy watching her as a mother, she's up for an Oscar as a mother right now. If you want to go through the entire Allison Janney mother oeuvre.
Her Oscar nomination is for her being an absolute horrible person, and this one she's quite a lovely person.
She was a stepmother in Juno. She was a mother in this. She was a terrible mother in I, Tonya. She's on Mom.
Yeah.
So she's kind of owning the mother phase of her career, I think. And more power to her.
Right.
So
exactly.
That is our challenge for this week. What is your challenge for me next week, Catherine?
So
something that you know and love and have watched many times in the past and just can't wait to watch again with me?
Not quite. We're expanding our challenge to things that we have been meaning to or are interested in trying and are using the challenge to force ourselves and our partner to watch. So if that made any sense.
There you go.
We are going to we're going to try on Netflix an original series they have called Godless. And it stars Michelle Dockery, otherwise known as Lady Mary from Downton Abbey.
So it does have that connection.
Yes. So it has that connection. It has like really high marks on Rotten Tomatoes, in case that is of interest. It's a ruthless outlaw terrorizes the West in search of a former member of his gang who's found a new life in a quiet town populated only by women. So, and there's a lot of...
How is it possible that Allison Janney didn't get a part in this?
I know, right?
Surely
she was
there
busy.
Would be something there she could play.
She was busy wearing insane wigs and birds on her shoulder for I, Tonya.
She was busy being fabulous 2 or 3 other places. Right. I got it.
So, let's just try. There's season 1 is available all now on Netflix. So
how much of it are we watching?
Let's just try the first one and see what we think and if it's something we feel like we want to keep watching, because the first episode is 71 minutes. So it's, it's up there. It's long. And then there's 7 total in this season. So.
All right. So we will give that a try. My husband might actually watch that with me. That sounds like something that he would like, probably more than
Western.
Me. So if I have to flee the room due to violence and
he can tell you what happened.
I'll bring him in and he'll finish the podcast with me.
Good. Okay, so Godless, the first episode, which is called An Incident at Creed.
Yes.
And we'll also do the very last good place of this season, Sadness. It's called Somewhere Else. Yes. And then the West Wing episode, The Long Goodbye.
Yes, the somewhat problematic West Wing episode, The Long Goodbye.
Okay.
It's very, very, very good for Allison Janney.
All right. Well, we'll enjoy that piece of it at least. That'll be it for our round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes, including our daily speed rounds and weekly group chats. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Terri.
Bye, Catherine.
Bye, everyone.